And that journey, sort of led me to start thinking about this idea of entrepreneurs and solutions that scale rapidly. And so we think about that in the tech sector all the time. You start a tech startup, a website, whatever it is, and then you figure out how to scale up to 5 million viewers. Hopefully your podcast here will get to 5 million listeners, right? So that's how we that's how we think about scale usually in the United States and with tech. And so I started thinking about, well, we keep talking about clean water for everybody in the world, but who's actually building the clean water filters? Who's building the tech for that? And then how do we then figure out how to help those folks to find the right funders, the partners, so that they can actually scale? And so I worked on that in the nonprofit sector, went back to the Obama administration, tried setting up some of those programs in the United States. And then sort of a couple of years ago, after I'd left the Obama White House, come back to Boston, I was still sort of bothered by that problem. I was thinking, why is it that, we're working on climate change and everybody knows it and the whole world is thinking about it, and yet we're not really thinking of solutions that can be scaled? Somehow, being connected to our friends online, everybody's thinking about that and starting social media sites every 2 minutes. But clean water for everybody, or clean air for everybody, is like stuck in the mud, and we can't find those solutions. So what's the problem? And that's when we started Equal Innovation and tried to figure out, how do we find those people, first of all, who are developing, solutions for, keeping women safe as they, walk at night in cities, or again, sort of clean water, clean solar power in villages. How do we find all these people? And then how do we find the people who are interested in funding them? And that isn't always like a match. They don't all live in, California, or all live in Massachusetts. So they're going to live one place, they're going to work another. And how do we do a better job matching the two, so that if we can find really good solutions, for different problems in the world, then we actually, are able to help them to grow and have the impact that we hope they can be. So for me, it was kind of a journey from big government down to the smallest entrepreneur working, in a village in India, a village in Africa, and then saying, hey, maybe my job is to be the connector of all these people.
That's incredible. Because my question was going to be, what is that? I mean, a stark difference when big government, like the White House, right, like bureaucracy incarnate, to like the ground floor, right? And like, how do you find the people, and how do you make anything happen when there's such a massive difference between the entrepreneur and like government?
Yeah, it was interesting. For me, it was sort of that part of it wasn't super hard, because I think what's great about entrepreneurs is that they want to find you, they want to tell you what they're doing. They also want to tell you about the problem they're solving, right? So they'll come to you and say, hey, I'm working on, AI in education, and here's what that means. Here's what AI could do in education. Here's why kids could learn better. And I have this great product I'm building, and can you help me find a funder? Can you help me find a school district that'll let me pilot my tech? So entrepreneurs will find you. But I think for me, what was really interesting was, just that, saying, all right, I'm in a big bureaucracy, I'm in a big organization. Right. They just have to do what they do every day. They don't have time to figure out how one school district can benefit from this AI software. That's, they have to think about thousands of schools at the same time. And if you're them, you can't say, we're going to put all our eggs in this basket of this one AI software or this one clean water filter. That's too risky. And so, for me, it was like, all right, we're going to have to think about, I'm going to have to get out if I'm going to think about these problems differently. And I think what was interesting is in the late 90s, when I was in the Clinton White House, that's when the first internet, boom sort of happened. And so you're kind of watching all this Hotmail, Yahoo, pets.com, all that stuff happening. And you're just learning a lot, just watching other people try this out, and say, oh, we're just going to scale this up and everybody's going to go to our website and that's how we're going to get news. And so watching that and saying, hey, how do we apply that to these global problems? And I think the first experience I had with that was actually there was a hurricane in Central America, which was called Hurricane Mitch. And this was like 1999. And that was the first time we used the internet to raise money for international tragedies like that.